When you said in the stir test, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds of stirring, are you talking about high-speed mixing or just hand mixing? So in the class, I give an example of where I took a large bucket of glaze and I stirred it. I just stirred it with a wooden dowel. So it wasn't high speed mixing. I just stirred it for 10 seconds, dipped a test tile. Then I stirred for another 20 seconds, dipped a test tile, and then another 30 seconds. So 60 seconds total, dipped a test tile. And the results were very, very different depending on how long I stirred my glaze for. And so make sure, if you didn't watch the class, make sure you go watch the class so you can see pictures of the example. But the takeaway from that is you're probably not stirring. Like what I did was 10 seconds seemed like a long time. I was using my phone, stopwatch, measuring 10 seconds. That actually felt like quite a long time to be stirring. 30 seconds felt like, okay, this is definitely going to be good. But it actually wasn't enough for this like really large bucket, garbage can sized bucket of glaze. And so one of the tips I gave on the class yesterday was what you could do is you could stir your glaze for as long as you naturally stir it for, and then pour your glaze into an empty bucket and see, is it homogenized? Meaning, is it nice and smooth throughout, or is the top nice and smooth and then you get to the bottom and it's all sludgy? That is not a homogenized glaze, and that's going to affect the consistency of your glaze application. You want your glaze to be completely homogenized. And so someone else had a question about like how often do you stir the glaze? So for me, when I'm glazing my pots, I always high speed mix all of my glazes at the beginning of a glazing session. And then I stir physically, manually with a spatula or whatever before each and every dip. So I give, a couple times around before I dip every piece, just to make sure, just in case some of the water has risen to the top. Because when water rises to the top, that's going to saturate your bisque even faster when you have more water at the top of your glaze bucket. And so I always high speed mix, then I stir between each and every dip. If a few hours go by or I take a break, when I come back, I'll high speed mix again. I use an immersion blender, like a hand blender, for any glazes that it will fit into that size of a bucket. If I have a huge bucket of glaze, then I would use a drill with a paint mixing attachment. So high speed mix at the beginning, stir before each and every dip. And if you're not sure if your glaze is homogenized, pour it into an empty bucket and you'll be able to see. Either it's going to pour smoothly or you're going to see lumps at the bottom. And if you see lumps at the bottom, then you just need to mix more. And this is a tip for, not all of us have access to an immersion blender or a high-speed mixer. I definitely recommend that you get one, but that's a good way to just tell if your glaze is homogenized before you go about your glazing process.